Hello again, I'm Tripp Rogers, and this is Tripp's Take. Well, this week, the New York Jets are being the New York Jets. Now, if you have followed this show, I have mentioned this, and I've mentioned it on our Fantasy Sultans podcast. I wish I could speak English. And I've said this, that every time the Giants do something that I don't agree with, I say, just wait. The Jets will do something worse. Well, this time, the Jets took the lead. In what a lot of people in the organization said was stunning, Robert Saleh was fired as head coach 5 games into the season. 2-3 record for the Jets. Now, I realized there were high expectations on the team. I mean, on the Sunday with the Sultans, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. And I picked the Eagles, too. Both of those choices, I don't know about that right now. But there were high expectations for this Jets team with Aaron Rodgers. And it was obvious that there were issues with Robert Saleh. Remember, his first 2 years, he was 7-10. And there were a lot of questions whether you bring him back for that third year. Well, then you get Aaron Rodgers and you say, okay, here we go. And Rodgers gets hurt 4 plays into the season. And last year was a disaster. Now, there was rumors the Jets might make a change, but they gave him a mulligan because of the injuries, and they said, okay, let's move forward. Well, what we've seen from the Jets in the first 5 games, not good. This is a Jet team that should be 4-1. The only game they really were not in and didn't really have a big-time chance was that first game in San Francisco. And that was with a San Francisco team that did not have Christian McCaffrey. But I digress. The last 2 games have been somewhat embarrassing for the Jets. My daughter called me during the Broncos game, was just saying, oh, man, this team is terrible. And if you watched Sunday's game from London, you saw it was not good. The offensive ineptitude of a team with Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback. Now, I know Rodgers is not the same Aaron Rodgers he was with Green Bay, but still, he's not a bad quarterback. And he's the best quarterback that you have had in the last number of years, although Sam Darnold is showing that perhaps the Jets maybe made a mistake. Yeah, could have been, just saying. But now I mentioned the Jets are being the Jets. And they're now on their 5th head coach in 11 years. And I think this is ridiculous because Woody Johnson acted in haste. And he fired Robin. The thing about the Jets is they do things much like an immature child. They do things, don't think of consequences, or say things, don't think of consequences. And then when they think about it, they're like, it wasn't the best idea. The problem I have with this move is they promoted the defensive coordinator to the interim. Why? This is a team that's built to win now. Go out and get yourself a head coach. Go out and get somebody. Your problem is with the offense. Your problem is Nathaniel Hackett is awful. Yeah, I know he's Aaron Rodgers' guy, but he's awful. This offense is awful. And if you're a fantasy player, you've got to be pulling your hair out over the performances of Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, 2 players that went in the first round of your fantasy drafts. Top 12 players. And you can't get them the ball. I mean, that's ridiculous. And I know the Jets are going to go and do the Jets thing and trade for Devontae Adams because that's the cure-all. But this is also a team that made a deal for Hassan Reddick in the offseason. He's not played yet this year. Well, the defense is not the problem, but still, that speaks about the organization and speaks about the front office. The problem now the Jets face, you're supposed to be a special team. Can the interim coach turn them around? Well, yeah, they could. He could. But you really have to think about bringing in somebody to do the offense. And the rumors now were that Robert Saleh was going to take the play calling abilities away from Nathaniel Hackett, giving them to another of the coaches. That's not going to solve your problem. you got to bring somebody else in. And if you're going to make a coaching move now and you just have an interim, that doesn't make sense. I really think the Jets blew this one. I can think of two names off the top of my head that the Jets could bring in and probably change the culture. There's a culture change that needed with the Jets. Number one, Mike Vrabel. He's working with Cleveland right now. And one of the reasons I think that perhaps Vrabel may not want to is he's still under contract for another year with the Titans. He's getting head coaching money, and he's sitting there basically being just an extra body in Cleveland. Of course, Cleveland is another disaster, but let's not talk about that. The other one is Frank Reich. Now, Frank Reich, people forget, was a great offensive coordinator. He was the offensive coordinator that took the Eagles to the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, he became a head coach, didn't do too well. And really didn't do well in Carolina. But Carolina was another issue because I think he was saddled with a bad quarterback. But having said that, he's an offensive guy. He could come in. He's got head coaching experience. You could probably get him now. And the Jets are only on the hook for Salah for another year. So I'm sorry. I just think it was a dumb move to do it this quickly. But again, the other part of it is Jet fans are starving. Only been to the Super Bowl once. It was in 1969. I was 10. And now I'm on Medicare and drawing Social Security. So that's a starved franchise. I mean, just like the New York Knicks, too, to be honest with you. Because the Knicks haven't won a championship since 1973. So we'll see how this plays out for the Jets. Well, once again, it is another name storm that is coming our way. And, of course, if you've seen the stories. Milton could be a really bad storm in Florida. Now, the one, and I have personal interest because my buddy Mark is right in line. And also, my sister's Florida home is right on line with this. I'm not overly worried about my sister's house because she's got a home, and I think she's far enough off the coastline, and she'll be okay. And my buddy Mark, the only problem is he lives in a manufactured home, and that's what worries me. Because, like I say, if it comes ashore with what they're talking about, and they're saying that the storm surge could change the coastline forever, and I don't think they're too far wrong. But the question is going to be, how much devastation are you going to have in Tampa? And the other part is not so much Tampa, but St. Petersburg, because you got that bridge to go over, and that bridge goes out. I mean, there aren't a lot of ways to get over to St. Petersburg. And I think that is the thing that kind of scares me with this storm. We will see. In Savannah, hopefully we will not have to deal with any power outages or anything, although we are going to have to deal with some strong winds, but that'll be just as the storm passes through. My thoughts and prayers to all my friends in Florida, and hopefully everything will work out for you and work out in a good way. And that is Tripp's Take for October what day is it? Sure, what I'm thinking. Oh, yeah, I kind of do this off the cuff. October 10th, 2024. Yeah, we have fun, don't we? Love to hear your comments and questions. TrippsTake@gmail.com. One of the questions would be, hey, moron, know what you're talking about. Fantasy football players, join the Hall of Famer Mike Sheck and yours truly for the Fantasy Sultans. You can find it on Spotify for podcasters, Apple, and YouTube. Just search Fantasy Sultans. Also, don't forget, we're on the radio if you are in New Jersey, or you can listen online, 12 noon on Sundays. It's Sundays with the Fantasy Sultans, and you can hear that on Fox Sports New Jersey and Fox Sports Jersey Shore. FoxSportsNewJersey.com also is where you can hear it. Like the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, give a listen to WTRSradio.com. And my Music Yearbook show this weekend has got a great countdown from 50 years ago from Super CFL, the voice of labor, WCFL in Chicago. Join me again next week. I'm Tripp Rogers. Thank you so much for your support and listening and watching this. Make it a great one.